Mark J P Kermode is a British film critic and a member of the British Academy of Film and Television Arts. He is the chief film critic for The Observer, and a contributor to Kermode and Mayo's film review and Sight and Sound magazine. He also co-presents the BBC Two arts programme The Culture Show and discusses other branches of the arts for the BBC Two programme Newsnight Review. Kermode also writes and presents a film-related video blog for the BBC. Kermode is also a co-founder of the Dodge Brothers, a skiffle band. Early life and education: Kermode, born Mark Fairey in Barnet, Hertfordshire, England, United Kingdom, attended Haberdashers' Aske's Boys' School, an independent boys' school in Elstree, a few years ahead of comedians Sacha Baron Cohen, Matt Lucas and David Baddiel, and in the same year as actor Jason Isaacs. He was raised as a Methodist, and later became a member of the Church of England. Mark Fairey's parents divorced when he was in his early 20s, and he subsequently changed his surname to his GP mother's maiden name by deed poll. He earned his PhD in English at the University of Manchester in 1991, writing a thesis on horror fiction. Career: film reviewing. Kermode began his film career as a print journalist, writing for Manchester's City Life, and then Time Out and the NME in London. He has also written for The Independent, Vox, Empire, Flix, Fangoria and Neon. Kermode began working as a film reviewer for BBC Radio 1 in 1993, on a regular Thursday night slot called Cult Film Corner on Mark Radcliffe's Graveyard Shift session. He later moved to Simon Mayo's BBC Radio 1 morning show. He also hosted a movie review show with Mary Ann Hobbs on Radio 1 on Tuesday nights called Killing Film. Between February 1992 and October 1993, he was the resident film reviewer on BBC Radio 5's Morning Edition with Danny Baker. Since 2001, Kermode has reviewed and debates new film releases with Mayo on the BBC Radio 5 live show Kermode and Mayo's Film Review. The programme won Gold in the Speech Award category at the 2009 Sony Radio Academy Awards on May 11, 2009. Kermode is a visiting fellow at the University of Southampton, having gained a PhD at the University of Manchester in Modern English and American Horror Fiction. He has also contributed to Fangoria magazine, authored the monograph The Exorcist, and worked on film-related documentaries like The Fear of God. 25 Years of The Exorcist, Hell on Earth, The Desecration and Resurrection of Ken Russell's The Devils, The Edge of Blade Runner, and The Cult of the Wicker Man. He recommends The Witch Who Came from the Sea as one of the best video nasties of the 1970s. Until September 2005, Kermode reviewed films each week for The New Statesman. Since 2009, Kermode has written Mark Kermode's DVD Roundup for The Observer, a weekly review of the latest releases. He sometimes writes for the British Film Institute's Sight and Sound magazine. Kermode is a film critic and presenter for Film 4 and Channel 4, presenting the weekly Extreme Cinema strand. He also writes and presents documentaries for Channel 4, and reviews films for BBC News at 5. As a host of BBC Two's The Culture Show, Kermode presents an annual Kermode Awards episode which presents statuettes to actors and directors not nominated for Academy Awards that year. Kermode is sometimes critical of the British Board of Film Classification, the censor for film in the UK, calling for horror films from abroad to be shown in their uncut versions. However, in recent years, he has stated on numerous occasions that the BBFC do a good job in an impossible situation, and expressed his approval of their decisions. In a 2012 Sight and Sound poll of cinema's greatest films, Kermode indicated his 10 favourites, given alphabetically, as Brazil, The Devils, Don't Look Now, The Exorcist, Eyes Without a Face, It's a Wonderful Life, Mary Poppins, A Matter of Life and Death, Pan's Labyrinth, and The Seventh Seal. He has described The Exorcist as being the best film ever made. In September 2013, Kermode became the chief film critic for The Observer. Kermode has more recently been famous for his rants about films he hated, in particular the Transformers film series, referring to them as sexist and leery, in particular how there are a lot of upskirt shots in the series, and he referred to the series as long Victoria's Secret commercials. Other writing: in February 2010, Random House released his autobiography, It's Only a Movie, which he describes as being inspired by real events. Its publication was accompanied by a UK tour. In September 2011 he released a follow-up book entitled The Good, the Bad and the Multiplex, in which he puts forth his opinion on the good and bad of modern films, and vehemently criticizes the modern multiplex experience and the 3D film craze that had grown in the years immediately preceding the book's publication. In 2013 Picador published Hatchet Job, Love Movies, Hate Critics, in which he examines the need for professional traditional film critics in a culture of ever-increasing online bloggers and amateur critics. Other work: Kermode has been a regular presenter on BBC Two's The Culture Show. He also appears regularly on Newsnight Review and the Film Review on BBC News. It was during a 2006 interview with Kermode for The Culture Show in Los Angeles that Werner Herzog was shot by an air rifle. Herzog appeared unflustered, later stating it was not a significant bullet. I am not afraid. On May 19, 2007 he was featured on the show playing with his skiffle band, the Dodge Brothers, in which he plays the double bass. Kermode also co-hosted an early 1990s afternoon magazine show on BBC Radio 5 called A Game of Two Halves alongside former Blue Peter presenter Karen Keating. Kermode appeared in a cameo role as himself in the revival of the BBC's Absolutely Fabulous on January 1, 2012. In April 2008, Kermode started a twice-weekly video blog hosted on the BBC website, in which he discusses films and recounts anecdotes. Kermode has recorded DVD audio commentaries for Tommy, The Ninth Configuration, The Wicker Man and Beckett. He also appears in the DVD extras of Lost in La Mancha, interviewing Terry Gilliam. Kermode has written books, published by the BFI in its Modern Classics series, on The Exorcist and The Shawshank Redemption, and his documentary for Channel 4, Shawshank, The Redeeming Feature, is on the film's 10th anniversary special edition DVD. Music: Kermode played double bass for a skiffle rockabilly band called the Railtown Bottlers in the early 1990s. The Railtown Bottlers were also the house band on the BBC show Danny Baker After All for a series, starting in 1993, where he performed with Madness lead singer, Suggs. In 2001 he formed the Dodge Brothers, playing bass in the skiffle quartet. Personal life: Kermode lives in Brockenhurst with his wife, Linda Ruth Williams, a professor who lectures on film at the University of Southampton and has written the erotic thriller In Contemporary Cinema and co-edited Contemporary American Cinema. In October to November 2004, they jointly curated a history of the horror film season and exhibition at the National Film Theatre in London. Kermode and Williams have 2 children. Kermode has been described as a feminist, a near-vegetarian, a churchgoer and a straight-arrow spouse who just happens to enjoy seeing people's heads explode across a cinema screen. Awards and other recognition: Kermode was 75th on the Guardiana EuroS 2010 Film Power 100. Kermode is a patron of the charitable trust of the Phoenix Cinema in North London, which was his favourite cinema during his childhood in East Finchley. The 10th anniversary episode of Kermode and Mayo's Film Review was broadcast from the venue as part of its relaunch celebrations in 2010. References. External links: Mark Kermode profile at the University of Southampton, Mark Kermode archive of selected articles in Critics Authors Review and articles at Rotten Tomatoes, Kermode and Mayo's Film Review at BBC Programmes, Kermode Uncut Mark Kermode's film blog at BBC Online, Mark Kermode interview at subtitledonline.com, Mark Kermode video interview about The Good, the Bad and the Multiplex at subtitledonline.com.